And the first one, numero uno in español.
Número uno.
Yeah. Apple, it really seems like this is a long time rumor, and it really seems like Apple's going to make an electric car. And I have some questions for you. How do you think they're going to do it? And here's my thought. And I'll just say up front, open, transparency. This is idiots versus idiots. We pride ourselves on telling the truth about our feelings and being transparent and authentic.
Whatever idiotic comes out of our face holes is just whatever it is. Yes.
I hate people who like Apple products. The products themselves they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. My parents are wonderful people. My mother has no idea how oil goes from a field in Iran to her car. And neither of my parents know how every year, magically, they have a new iPhone.
Right.
Okay? That's because I signed them up for some sweet lease deal that you can't even get anymore with T-Mobile. And every single year, as long as I keep upgrading their lease, we're still grandfathered in. So every year they get brand new iPhone. And they have no clue how they arrived. They just go, "Oh, my phone looks different." I was like, "Dad, you had a black phone. This one is bright red now." And it took him 2 weeks before he's like, "Is this different?"
Is there a difference? I still use it for texting and calling. So is there a difference? Yeah. But look, I am with you there in my disdain for the Apple elitists, right, of the world. I don't think any phone is worth standing in line for hours or days on end.
I don't think they have the lines like they used to. I think by iPhone 6 or 7, people stopped caring that much.
They created brand loyalty. And you know what? Good for them, right?
God bless. Like, good for you. I'm glad that you did that. I have no compunction about that at all.
Right? There's this, if you have an Android phone, it's a cheap phone, even though it could be more expensive than an Apple phone or have better services or whatever. But that's a culture thing they created, and they've worked very hard on keeping it that way.
This is like $900, and it has a second screen attachment.
Well, I actually saw this week, and this is kind of off topic, but this is the Apple and Android conversation. They actually they made the comparison. They were talking specifically about Apple car batteries, which is where really Apple car design is different. It uses a completely different solid state battery versus, what Tesla's using. And what they were essentially making the comparison of Apple's Apple car to, is it going to be Apple's Apple car and Tesla be the Android comparison, where Tesla's very open concept. They share their designs, their battery designs with the world, more open source, more this kind of more user friendly, that kind of thing.
Their supercharger station that network is open to every electric car maker. If you want to make an electric car, you can he patented it. And Elon Musk named it after Tesla. Tesla was famous for patenting things and then opening the patent to the whole world. You guys can do whatever you want with it. And I think Elon Musk's, I've said this on the show before, his kind of, dropped acid approach to building business is a little more my flavor.
Right. Well, but and I don't know that the Apple car will ever truly exist. Because
they're saying 2024.
Yeah, but they say a lot of things.
Here's the thing. I will base how much I believe a story based on who is willing to report it. Right. And CNET, which is a storied technology media brand, I trust when they say a piece of technology will, or at least that somebody, within the proper channel says it's going to exist. Whether or not it comes to fruition. Now, here's what I'm wondering. There's a dozen or half dozen or so startup electric car companies. We've covered the Nikola Tesla, the Nikola scam on this channel before.
We have.
My favorite scam of 2020. I have another one from we're going to cover next episode. I think it was my 2019 best scam of the year, and I'm still listening to podcasts about this scam because it was so good. So this is a little teaser for you, but I do think that it's not impossible. Here's the one thing that Apple has over every other one of these startups, right? Lucid took, I think it was $1 billion+ from, the Saudi fund, which is, the Aramco fund, which is, the Saudi kingdom's money. Right. They took Chinese money. It was like they're $1 billion+ into, there's several rounds and they've done $1 billion couple rounds. They don't have a product you can go buy yet,
sure. Look, they have the battery, right? Which is the biggest thing about an electric car is a different take on, the battery, which again is a solid state battery. It's supposed to last longer. It's supposed to be better. It's supposed to be lighter,
Well, no.
which is
So
a
what I
big
was
deal.
Yeah. So what I was trying to say though, what was the point I was trying to get at was the one thing that Apple has that none of these other companies have is stupid volumes of cash. Not that they have stupid like their valuation. I'm talking they have these things that in Silicon Valley seems like it's just a myth, which is called profits.
Right. Yeah,
They
no,
have a ton of those profits.
they definitely have the money to push back into things, but so does a company like Toyota, right? I mean, Toyota has a crap ton of money to shovel into something like this. There's a lot of companies. Look, this is to me, you have all these electric, you know what I mean? Tesla's really the only one that's done it so far, and that to only a really certain extent, right? That they have not been largely profitable.
And then I do think, like, I'll just throw this in there. I think General Motors' design, the original design of General Motors, like their cars were dumb, right? The Volt and so on. But the original concept of a, you know, it's a gas electric hybrid where the gas engine is, charging the electric engine. So it's extremely like it's only turning 500 RPMs. It's a generator effectively, right? And I think that has to me as a car guy, that has more legs than just a straight electric.
Yeah,
right?
no, well, and that ability to, okay, if I can get 200 miles out of the electrical portion of my engine, and then the gas engine kicks in to give me the other 200 that I'm going on, you know what I mean? Where I don't have that, fear of getting away from a plug or whatever
Range
it is.
anxiety. They call it range anxiety.
Right.
And the problem that the straight electric, the electric only car has isn't simply range anxiety. It's charging time, right? And the more this is simply the way it goes. The faster they scale charging, the crappier your battery life is.
Right, well, yeah, because it's all about heat and transfer of energy, right? And that kind of stuff. There's actually a company here in Cedar Park that's been here for last 10 or 15 years, and all they are is a specific battery design company. They're a think tank that have designed batteries for Tesla and for all kinds of different companies, and they're constantly trying to come up with new, better ways, right, to go about this. And that's where a lot of the things I read, even about Tesla all these years and whatever, is that the next great breakthrough in battery technology will be the next great breakthrough in EV cars. We are not there yet from a battery standpoint. They still weigh too much. Talk to any Tesla certified mechanic out there. They'll tell you that even under warranties, all these different Tesla models are constantly redoing shocks and control arms and all this stuff because the car weighs a ton on these chassis that they're making light enough to make this stuff work.
And that's why a lot of these electric car companies are going to trucks, like because that design already is conducive to heavy vehicles. Right. So that's somewhere where you can actually put a lot of range into some. And that's why I'm as anti-EV and as pro internal combustion as they come, simply because I just can't get over the noise. To me, driving a car, I don't care like how fast, there's always going to be a faster car, but I'm saying, I don't know if you've probably seen them running around on the highway, a Hellcat, Dodge Challenger, Charger Hellcat. My buddy had one. And I ripped this thing down the highway. I went only the speed limit because I obey laws. But the noise it makes is like the heavens part and the angels are singing and you're just...
Dude, my first car was a 71 Chevelle, okay? I called it the ball rattler because literally the exhaust pipes down both sides directly from the engine led right down in between the bench seats of the passenger and the driver. So when I hit the passing gear, when I put my foot into it, regardless of how fast or slow I was going down the highway, and you heard that roar, that kick down, that... it literally tousled your balls, okay? It was because of now again, I'm with you.
You are so fat that you needed a bench seat, aren't you?
Hey, shut your face. Anyway, the you're an idiot.
It's true.
The point being is yes, you have true car guys like you and I that have this sound issue from an EV that I don't get the vibration, I don't get the feeling of driving a car, but those are things that can be mimicked and fixed.
Yeah.
You can create a muffler, right, on one of these cars to create sound. So those things can be mimicked down the line, but I think it's a low priority for them to figure out right now.
And there's there BMW already today with their existing cars, they understand, they're the ultimate driving machine. They already have the technology. They're already pumping car noise, they're already pumping exhaust note into the car's stereo.
Absolutely.
So that because listen, and on some level, it's mystery meat. And I'm like, nah, I want the real thing. I want to know this thing had a mom and it died and was sad and it felt feelings because that's how it's tasted. Okay.
I get it, but look, I go back to the original story. I don't think Apple will have a car, or if it does, it'll be short-lived. I think what ultimately ends up happening is what Elon Musk said a year ago, which is, hey, I would love to get Tesla to a point where General Motors or Ford Company or Diamond Chrysler or whoever says, you know what, we're going to partner together and we're going to figure this crap out forever. Right? We're going to use all this technology that you've come forward. It'll be a conglomeration that eventually happens. You will not end up with 12 different car companies making electrical vehicles. Yeah. You'll end up with 4 or 5 or 6, just like automakers.
So one thing about what you just said I want to dissect really quick here was you said Daimler Chrysler. Welcome to 2002.
Sorry. I apologize. Yes.
Yeah, they're right now. It's finally been approved. This is a side. We're getting off track here, but they've. Daimler Chrysler stopped existing like a long time ago.
2000.
This is 6 or 7, right up until the crash.
Chrysler does technically exist.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like, we run a business podcast, and you just said, like, you don't. And literally, Chrysler just merged with PSA, like Fiat Chrysler, so they're called Stellantis now.
Whatever. But yes, you get my point.
Yeah, no, and here's what I think. I think what's interesting story about Elon Musk. I think when he attempted to get Tim Cook to buy them at $60 billion. Mm-hmm. Today Tesla's valued at $650 billion. Oops.
Yeah.
Oops, Timmy Cook.
Yeah. Oops.
Tim Apple. Come on, man. Tim Apple. You jacked that one up. And it's just like, how many times did Yahoo, like Google attempted to sell themselves to Yahoo and Microsoft attempted to buy Yahoo for like $44 million, and then they got sold to Verizon for $4 billion. There's a $44 billion.
Netflix to Blockbuster. I mean, look, you can go down the list over and over.
And ultimately, it was their suicide that they didn't do that. Here's what I think, though. I think just like Apple acquired Beats and they took their time, and they still sell Beats headphones, but you can also go buy a $600 pair of over-the-ear phones that, like, basically just hijacked Beats technology, and that's It's no longer Beats by Dre, it's Apple Beats. So what I think they will do is they will acquire perhaps 1, if not 2 or 3, in a roll-up type strategy. They will roll up a handful of different electric car makers, because they have the cash to do it, and they don't have to go configure infrastructure. They'll redo infrastructure to make it Apple infrastructure, but I'm just saying, like, they don't have to go build factories. They already have the battery technology, which is the hard part.
Absolutely.
Right. And so what's interesting is Apple went out and hired, I forget the guy's name. His name's Ron Johnson, actually, now that I remember. And he was, for a brief period, the CEO of JCPenney, when they went completely downhill. But before that, he was the guy who brought Apple stores into fruition.
Okay. Well, I mean,
from just a concept, they went and hired a guy. I think he was like the CEO of Mervyn's, California, or something. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, I think they go acquire acquire their way to the.
Do they? I think they have the money for it, but I just don't. I don't know that Apple wants to be making cars. I think it's a. I think like a lot of things, you have companies, and we've talked about this on this podcast before, with deep pockets that are looking for things to spend money on, whether it's for a tax write off or whether okay maybe we do knock this one out of park. You know what I mean? Out of the park somehow. I just don't know that Apple wants to be making cars. Again, I go back to Elon Musk just because he's done this for so much longer. This guy went to General Motors and said, "Hey, let me use your factories, right, that you're building cars out of, and let me make Teslas out of them. You already have the floor." And they were like, "Nah, we're not helping anybody that's, you know what I mean, that our competitor." And then Elon Musk tries to start creating his own factories, and that's led to its own issues, right? Its own set of issues and that kind of stuff. I don't know that Apple wants to go down that road.
Well, the difference, as I said before, between Apple and Tesla even is Tesla has to deal with like stock prices, right? Apple has, they're a public company, but I'm just saying Apple has this thing called profits. They are printing money over there, like they're the Federal Reserve, okay? And they're like, if I was them, I obviously, I'm not them. I'm seeing a roll-up strategy that works, which they're just going to acquire X. There's a couple Chinese ones where that's a lot of where the manufacturing is going to be. The other interesting thing too is Tesla acquired factories from Toyota and General Motors.
Right.
One of their I think it's their California factory was a joint venture from Toyota General Motors.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, it was called Numi or something like that. And when that agreement was terminated, when that agreement finished, is when Tesla moved their entire operation to Plano, Texas, and that is what I think Elon Musk purchased. So I mean, I just think to me, it's fascinating. I think the future is so interesting. But I'm still just let me recall the tweet from Peter Thiel, which said, "I was promised flying cars, and all I got was 180 characters." It's before Twitter gave him more characters. Yeah. So I listen. If the cars are flying in the sky, I don't really care if they're, ice engines, right? But if they're on the ground, I want them to go vroom vroom. Okay.
I think they've almost but given up on flying cars for the most part. I think they are so stuck on getting us off of fossil fuels, getting us off of gasoline as a whole, or at least mostly, that they have, that is what that's their forward thinking right now.
So here's the thing, and let me just make a extremely political statement. That is a obnoxious, first of all, goal, and it is innocuous in the sense that digging up these batteries out of the ground, because at the end of the day, they're not just like, thinking them into existence using the secret.
Yeah.
They are drilling into the ground. Some poor African kid probably is losing his arm because they're in a mine somewhere, a Congolese mine, extracting battery, the stuff they put in the
components,
batteries. Yeah, battery components. And there has been studies. There was a study done, I forget what year it was, but it was when they were still making Hummers, like, before the Hummer EV. Mm-hmm. Like, it's actually better on the environment because, they have to take the battery from Africa. They send it to Japan, and the car gets made in Japan and sent to the United States. You're actually doing more for the environment by buying an older car with horrible fuel economy. But the problem is, this is not owning that Tesla, that Prius. It's not and this ties into Apple in a certain way. It's a cultural thing. It's about it's about virtue signaling. I'm a good person.
Absolutely.
And then going, hey, that guy's diesel truck that is 60 years old and it's blown coal. He's rolling coal everywhere. It's actually better for the environment because it's staying on the road longer, all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I just want to wrap up the story by saying this. I like electric cars, but I despise electric car owners the same way I hate Apple fanboys.
Sure.
I don't hate people who just go to the store and like, yeah, I need a phone. Give me an Apple phone because that's ubiquitous and it's just easier to use the ubiquitous thing.
Right.
I'm not offended by that Apple user. And I'm also not offended by someone who's like, dude, I drive 30,000 miles a year. I'm a salesperson. I don't care about cars. It's a frying pan. It's a utility. It's a commodity to me. It's not It's not that doesn't bother me. You'll buy your Prius, like it's a perfectly reliable car to do that.
Absolutely. You
Right, buy
drive
your
4 miles to work, right? Because you live in a downtown, condo
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, no problem with it whatsoever.
not offended by it. But what I do despise is the I'm doing something for the planet. That's why I drive $100,000 Tesla.
Yeah, no,
That
I'm with you there. The Apple elitism, right? The EV elitism, right?
it's the same group of people. It's the same chuckleheads that we see, and we see them in Austin when it's downtown Austin, when it's 60 degrees, and they're wearing a freaking fleece vest. Stop. But I'm just saying, like,
you're talking about the consumer side versus, and then
Yeah.
you flip it over to the business side. Hey, I got no problem with you, right?
I don't.
You
I
can get
really don't.
somebody
Like-
to spend $100,000 on a vehicle that they could probably, you know what I mean? Again, carbon footprint and blah yada 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 for half that, right?
Yeah.
You're getting them to do it, right? I mean,
Right.
what is it? What's the EV one? The loader motors. What's the one?
Local Motors.
No. The Lordstrom.
Lordstown.
Truck. Yeah.
it's Lordstown.
So that one, I mean, I was just reading an article this week. Something like 80,000 have, put a deposit down on, right? And as they get more and more orders, though, it just gives them more and more of that elitism kind of thing, right? People just want to be the first 80,000 people that have that truck.
It's not
if
just
it ever
that
hits
they
the
want to
market.
be the first, right? I think that they want to be like, look at me, I'm doing something good for the environment. And if you want to do something good for the environment, God bless, good luck, go ahead and do it. But if you want to talk about having done something good for the environment, you're in a cult.
I understand. It definitely is a.
If you want to eat keto, if you want to be a vegan, if you want to go do CrossFit, I don't care. But if you want to talk about it, you're in a cult. Cat. Ready for story number 2?
I think you accusing of all EV drivers and Apple people of being in a cult. I think that's where we should end the story. I think that feels right. I think that's exactly where this story should end. That Danny called all Apple users and EV users in a cult.
But that's not what I said. You're mischaracterizing what I said. But I will take that as a transition.